And we conclude tonight with the Executive Director of the influential Coleman Advocates for Children and Youth, NTanya Lee, and the Coleman Advocates, and welcome, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We've had Margaret on several times in the past, and she was she the founder of the Coleman?
No, she wasn't.
But she was important.
Yes, she was the Executive Director for 26 years.
26 years.
Left quite a legacy.
How was that like to go in there and be, to replace her? You're very young, too, for her. She's, I mean...
Well, I look younger than I am.
Okay, but the point is that, how was that like? What was that like to take over? Because she's such a dynamic person. Your styles are different? Your styles are different.
We're different people. We're different people. It was quite an honor to take over, you know, Coleman after Margaret left, and I mean, she was there for 26 years and really built a real reputation for Coleman in terms of being the leading voice for child advocacy in the city, and I felt, you know, I didn't feel any pressure to sort of follow in her shoes. I mean, after 26 years, I felt it was a really important time for Coleman to think about what do we want to do next. So we're really I started, you know, on the ground running, thinking about the future, not so much thinking about how I could compare to the past.
You sure have picked, I mean, I think the old Coleman Advocates would pick pretty much bread and butter youth and children issues. You can't argue with them. That is, let's have more money in the budget, and Margaret did a great job. But what you're up to right now, you're going right after the flight of families from San Francisco.
Yeah.
That's bold and difficult.
Challenging, yes,
Why
but
don't you tell
important.
us, there's a couple elements to this plan or this advocacy. Why don't you describe it?
Well, first is, you know, Coleman, we've been around for 30 years, as you know, and, you know, we've helped build this incredible infrastructure in the city for children's services, around childcare and youth employment, and all these amazing things. And when I became executive director, we took a moment to pause and we talked to thousands of families, we talked to people all over the city about what our new direction would be, and overwhelmingly, when you talk to families, they said, if Coleman is going to continue being relevant in the next era, you've got to deal with the housing crisis.
Well, let's see, it's called the Coleman Advocates for Children and Youth, and they're leaving the city.
Exactly, and they said, you know, housing is the #1 crisis. The exit of families, especially low and moderate income families, is the #1 crisis for families and for children and youth in the city, and you have to deal with it. And we can't, you know, we're now the city with the smallest proportion of children in the entire country in terms of urban cities, and we're basically, our feeling is that the last 30 years of work of building this infrastructure of support and safety net for families will have been for naught if families are actually forced to leave the city. So we felt like we really didn't have any choice.
Do you feel like you're holding back the dam, though? I mean, you mentioned in your report, and all this is available at your very excellent website. I read a lot of the information.
Thank you.
This gentrification that's occurring is not just in San Francisco, but it's occurring in other cities as well.
Of course.
Don't you feel like it's so big that it can't be stopped? That that it's almost a natural phenomenon, that the land price is going up, and the developers can only want to build luxury units. Tell me the truth. Do you feel you can really stop it, or change the direction of families leaving San Francisco?
Yeah, I do. I think. You know, I'm in this work because I have hope and optimism, and because I've seen in history people do things that no one thought could be done.
That is true.
And so that's why I'm in this line of work. I'm not in this line of work to do the easy stuff, and to sort of work around the margins. And I do actually believe if it can happen anywhere, I think it can happen in San Francisco. And I think we are up against, the tide is very strong. The tide is very strong. I'm not naive to that. The market forces are extremely powerful. But we've also seen what good city planning can do. If you really are looking beyond the threshold of a 4-year political term and a 2-year, you know, different budget cycles, if you're really looking to the future of a city and really thinking about planning for the future of such a great city as San Francisco, you've really got to take on the tough issue of, we've got to stop losing our families. What kind of future are we building otherwise? So I don't feel like we have. I don't feel like we have a choice.
I think the goals are very noble, and one of the things we're doing with this program is bringing on various people who are trying to build affordable housing, whether with HUD money or some innovative strategies like AF Evans, where they get contributions, they get the banks involved, and I agree with you. And there's a creativity involved in the deal making, but. I read, we chatted about this, I read the wonderful things that, for example, Mayor Newsom said at your rally
Our rally for the next generation last
yeah,
Saturday.
and you had lots of kids there.
It's 500 people.
500 people.
Families from all over the city.
And this proposal to build more affordable housing, to improve education, and a little bit more in the budget was introduced there. And then the mayor goes ahead and vetoes a $28 million affordable housing supplement. And look, I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm all for that, but I don't have a problem with someone cutting the surplus so there's money for a future day. That's what his theory was. But how does he explain it to you? And I'm sure you got on the phone when you heard that $28 million will build probably $200 million worth of new housing, leveraged. What did you say to him?
Well, let's review actually what happened. So what happened was we worked for months, and our families worked for months on this proposal to get the city to double its current plans for affordable family housing. So we met with every city official and planning and the mayor's office and everyone, and got the mayor on Friday, the Friday before the rally, to actually make this commitment to 3,100 units in the pipeline by 2011. That's the most aggressive push around family housing that's ever happened in the city of San Francisco. And we knew from our conversations with him what that commitment meant. It wasn't a light commitment. His mayor's office of housing was very much involved in that. What that commitment meant was working with us to identify new sources of revenue that would pay for those. It's about 1,400 new units of housing, more than what were planned. It's zoning issue, all the complicated issues around affordable housing, in the city. And so, yes, and we told him on that day, because we knew it was his intention to either veto or not sign the affordable housing supplement, and we told him that we were disappointed in that, because from our perspective, we need increasing local revenue that we can control here in the city for affordable housing. But what we were told, and what we're anxious to see, and I'm withholding judgment until I see the mayor's June 1st budget, is that his June 1st budget would have a record amount of money in it for affordable housing. And so if that isn't true, if it actually doesn't advance, push us forward, move the mark forward around affordable housing beyond what the $28 million.
Then you're going to be disappointed.
Then we'll be disappointed, yeah.
The second important part of your plan to stop the flight of families is to improve education, because that's one of the main reasons, especially even African-American families are moving out because of all this busing that no longer is necessary, according to the courts, but disrupt families so that it's the families in the Bayview and the Hunters Point that argue the most about having their kids go for 2 hours to another school where they can't meet their teachers. How do you stop all that politics at the school board that produces those kind of idiotic proposals?
Well, first of all, we're really sad that the consent decree is over. We think that it's really important, actually, for San Francisco to have some accountability in terms of reaching goals around desegregation.
There's no more white people going to school, so how can you have racism?
It's not just about white people.
What is it about then?
Well, the problem that we found, and I don't know if you got a chance to look at our report. The problem
I've had the lawyers here. I've had so many people here, and most people involved with it say it's absolutely absurd that we're disrupting human lives, and that's one of the reasons why so many families are leaving San Francisco.
Well, what's really absurd is when we look at the data, the school district's own data, San Francisco has the widest racial achievement gap in the whole state. And what that actually means, so I'm talking about achievement, what we want from the schools, what every parent I've ever talked to, Chinese, African American, white, Latino, is they want the best education for their child.
I agree.
Right? That's what everyone wants. And everyone wants it as near as possible to their home as everyone wants a good school near where they live.
Because parents need to interact with teachers.
Absolutely. That's what everybody wants. But when you actually look at what's happening is we essentially have a two-tiered system where there are some schools and some programs in the district that are high quality, top notch, some of the best in the entire state, actually, which is befuddling to me for people who criticize the school district. But anyway, so we have one tier where we have some of the highest achieving students and highest achieving schools in the whole state. And then we have the other tier of the system where African American students, for example, are the lowest achieving students, not only in our district, but of any African American students in the state of California.
That's correct. It's not just a San Francisco problem.
No, but San Francisco's is, of all the urban districts in the state, the worst on this issue.
But here, okay, I don't want to get into this issue of moving kids around for 2 hours every day.
Well,
I'm
to me,
getting
that's not the issue.
No, but I'm getting to
Achievement-
your
achievement is the issue.
in your proposal to stop families from leaving the city, families who are fed up with this school board and its policies, which are very political. I'm asking you, when you address political problems and they forget the achievement problems, doesn't that frustrate you?
Well, what's interesting is that when we did this research around the achievement gap and we put forward this platform and our families put forward this platform, we said, we went to every school board member and the superintendent, we said, can you get focused on increasing achievement for all students? Can you get focused on this issue of it? And they all said yes.
How are they going to do that?
Well, first of all, they've agreed to our goal that in 4 years,
Yes.
that they're going to work towards having 60% of every racial group be on track to college. They've never before agreed on a central goal for the school board to unite around.
And Tanya, how are they going to do that?
We have a 12-point plan that we've talked with all of them about. It needs a lot of fleshing out details. It needs a lot of work with other community groups and coalition building. But we know what works in this country in terms of improving achievement.
Give me the top 2 or 3.
One of the well, obviously more funding for the schools is essential. But number 2 would be teacher quality. One of the things that we found overall, all the research tells you the most important thing for a child's education has to do with the quality of the teacher that is in that child's classroom.
All right, so
So what we need, so one of the things we need is to really support teachers in having better professional development in the schools so they can have the most engaging curriculum, the most engaging teaching practices, especially in the schools where the students are farthest behind.
Tell me again, how are you going to do that?
And well, can I come back another time
well,
and talk
no, see,
with the teachers union?
There's
lots of research.
You've come across the basic core problems of the city, the 2 major ones. It's incredible that you're willing to take these 2 on. You have the frustration I would feel is you're taking on the biggest goals. I mean, on both ends, the educational bureaucracy and so on, and the developers who are building luxury condos and no one's building affordable housing. And I want you to succeed. And I want the school board to get off their butt and start making it happen.
And we're part of that change.
But I want to know, how are you going to make sure that it actually gets done?
Yeah.
Real practical steps that it will take 4 years.
If anyone, I mean, you know, I've been at Coleman for 6 years, and we've done things people said couldn't be done before. I mean, the Children's Fund exists now and funds 200 organizations. It's like $50–60 million a year.
Sure.
Almost 20 years ago when Coleman put that on the map, no member of the Board of Supervisors would support it. The mayor wouldn't support it. We got 50,000 signatures and did it anyway, and now everyone takes it for granted. There are things that can be done when you focus the city on children, when you focus the city on the future, that I think when you get beyond the egos, when you get beyond the political divisiveness, it was refreshing to us when we met with, you know, Supervisor Alioto Peer, and then we met with Supervisor Daly, and there's some common ground there.
Yes,
when we talked about family housing. When we met with, you know,
they
Commissioner
both have kids,
Wins,
don't they?
and I'm saying that there's some common ground.
Yeah.
And so that's the strength that we're bringing to this.
I'm glad.
That,
And look, the question I asked you to solve, that is the education problem in San Francisco and the lack of affordable housing, the mayor can't do it, the board can't do it, no one can do it, so I'm not asking you to do it, but I do appreciate that you're going to try to take it on. And I think that's probably, I'm getting it.
I mean, it's not me. It's thousands and thousands
but it's
of
important
parents
for you,
and
the voice to be out there.
Students.
That you're going to say, no, we're going to make an effort to stop this.
And we're going to ask, you know, what we've very clearly asked all of those folks, you know, all the elected officials in the is to, as I said, focus on common ground and focus on concrete benchmarks that we can hold them accountable to in 4 years. And we know how to hold folks accountable.
And I know how to hold folks accountable because I bring them back on the program a few months later.
Well, that's terrific.
So we'll have you back.
Okay.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time. For program schedule.